didn't know where I stopped, but I'm just going to say that um few of the things that stood out for me, at reset last year that really helped me in the year 2024 was how that I had to harness my strengths more than I focused on my weaknesses, right? So, and that was like that was the turning point for me, and how that there was one thing that Reverend K kept on saying, that I will live joyfully in 2024. I don't know how many people picked that up, but it really stood out for me. And the Holy Spirit just kept on reminding me at every point where I felt really low. I had a major blow in the year 2024, but the Holy Spirit just kept on reminding me that joy is a feature. If you check all through my journals, I have about 3 to 4 journals here. You would read on every page where I got to write, joy is a feature. I harness my joy, and 2024 has just, it started well, had hiccups, but really ending well. And I'm just really grateful to God that I'm here again to learn. And 2025 is definitely the year where I achieve excellent results and productive results. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. That is such an uplifting testimony. Also reminding us that we're ending the year with joy. I mean, I know we're a few days to the end of the year, but I mean, don't count it out, don't cross it out. God, there is still the bottom part blessing. So hold on to the word. Thank you. Does anybody here also have feedbacks or testimonies from past reset they would like to share? Otherwise, we can just get right straight. I have earlier read the profile of Michelle Tobia Desanya, so I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar. Subtle reminder that you can get your journal for prophecy from Alina Creations. That is her brand. She also sells, she makes really amazing t-shirts that helps you evangelize the gospel if you like so. So without much further ado, I want you all to unmute yourself and give our facilitator tonight a big round of applause as she comes up.
Woo!
Your hand. You people are stubborn. No. Clap your hand. Unmute yourself and clap. If you don't clap, you will not clap. Bishop, unmute yourself and clap. Oh yeah. We're not done talking.
Good evening.
Thank you, Michelle. You people already know me. You do something once, it's not until we fight. Hey, clap. Welcome, Michelle. We're so happy to have you. Please take the stage.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Wow. I'm so excited to be here. I'm really, really excited. And I just want to say thank you to Adejoke for the opportunity to be here again. I think this should be my third time in Reset. I deserve an award, though, you people. I deserve an award.
I said they should clap. They were not clapping.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here, and I trust God that from tonight's teaching, you're going to get value, you're going to get clarity, and if there are people that have questions in their heart, you're going to receive answers to all of those questions in Jesus' name. So I just want you to be in this class with an open heart and be receptive, because God is going to be speaking a lot. So we have a topic before us: excellent mastery of multi-potentiality. But I have 2 topics to talk about, and I'm going to trust God to help me to compress everything that I need to say in such a way that I don't take too much of our time, because our time is already fast spent. So I'm going to be starting first with...
We have time, we have time. Me, I have time.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to be starting first with the topic, the major focus of tonight's teaching. Then I'll go into what God has put in my heart for everybody here. So I don't know if you can all see my slide.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Did somebody say I can't?
Yes, I can't.
Let me try and zoom it.
No, hold on. I don't think it's from your end. I think it's from us.
Okay.
And you just, because everybody should be able to see her slides and also see her besides the slides. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. I can see the slide and I can see her.
Okay, great. So I want to know that majority can see, as I have said. So for others, we find the solution because it's not for
Yes, I
me.
can see the slide.
Okay. Aside Abiodun, who else cannot see the slides? And Abiodun, is it possible to leave the meeting and join?
Okay.
Yes, thank you. That should work.
Okay.
I think we can go on now. Okay. Everyone is good now, right? So we can get straight into it. Are we all good? Everybody can see the slides and their screen.
Yes,
Yes.
I can see the slide and the
All right,
screen.
Yes.
Michelle. You can go on now. Currently, you're muted, but you can go on now. We can see that you're scrolling through the slides.
Okay. All right. Okay, so today's topic is, so let me just say, we're welcome to Reset 2024. I'm sure that Adejoke has done that already. So we're talking about excellent mastery of multi-potentiality. And this topic is very, very dear to my heart because if you are conversant with the phrase jack of all trades, master of none, I don't know if we've all heard that, but I'm sure that a lot of people must have heard that. And this is one thing that used to pain me when I was small because growing up as a young girl, I was very, very multi-talented, multi-potentialite, and whatever it is that you can call it. So I was that child that can do so many things. I can sing, I can draw, I can act, I can talk, I can write, I can do so many things. And when the regular students in class, when they ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Everybody says, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a banker, I want to be this, I want to be that. Me, I'll say I want to be a doctor, lawyer, dancer, singer, actress. I'll list like 10 things that I want to be. And there was always that look of, you're just very confused, you don't know what you're doing. And that really affected me a lot because I always believed that I had to I felt like it was what's the English? I felt like being a multi-potentialite was something to be ashamed of, right? That I was a confused person. But I'm really glad that God has helped me to discover certain things that I'm going to be sharing with you. And if you are like me, watching or listening to me right now, I believe that you're going to get clarity and wisdom from today. So I'm not going to go into this because Adejoke has already done that. Let me just go straight to the starting point. So I'm starting with this quote. It says that any man who bears the ability of a polymath shall not be interfered by speciality. He needs discipline to manage his behaviors and nurture his creativity. So this quote just helps us to build the foundation for what we're going to be talking about today because the topic is excellent mastery of multi-potentiality. Now, we all know that being a multi-potentialite or being a multi-dimensional person is a thing. But the thing is that a lot of people do not know how to manage it or don't even know how to handle this whole multi-potentiality thing. And that's why it looks like some people are scattered and all over the place. And it's as if they don't even have a sense of direction. And that's what gives people the mouth to say that jack of all trades, master of none. But this quote says that any man who bears the ability of a polymath shall not be interfered by speciality. He needs discipline to manage his behaviors and nurture his creativity. So while being a multi-potentialite is a blessing, it can become a curse if you don't know how to handle it, if you don't know how to manage this, right? So let me start by saying, what is multi-potentiality? Basically, it is having interest that spans across multiple fields or areas rather than being strong in just one. It is the state of having many exceptional talents. So there are some people that they are just good in maybe just one thing and they excel so well at it. Some people are just good having a career building that career, developing that career, and just, climbing different heights, different ladders in that career path. But there are some people that they have a career, they also have a passion, they also have a business, they also have something they are volunteering for. They have this one they are building, they have that one they are doing. They just have so many things, so many interests, so many fields, so many exceptional things that they do. So if this definition sounds like you, that means you are a multi-potentialite. It's just very simple. But I have my own definition of who a multi-potentialite is. And this one was a revelation that I had that helped me to really settle into this identity and this understanding of who God has made me to be. Because like I said, growing up, I used to hear people tell me, jack of all trades, master of none. And that made me feel really bad. It was not until recently that I realized that there's even a full quote to that adage, So this is my definition of a multi-potentialite. A multi-potentialite is like a river that has many connecting points, but one source. So if you've seen a river before, a river is vast, right? Like it looks as though there's no end to this river. It's a stream. It keeps flowing in diverse direction, but there is a source. And another way to look at it is that a multi-potentialite is like a house with many rooms, but you need to access one door to get into that house. I hope I'm not being too fast, and I hope that's what I'm saying. You guys understand it. So a multi-potentialite is like a house. And I'm going to explain this further as we go into the conversation. But picture a beautiful building, right? This house is a mansion, it's beautiful. There are so many rooms in a house. Now, we all live in a house, right? And in your house, you have your bedroom, you have your kitchen, you have your toilets. Some people have their workspace in their house. Some people have, what else is in a house? Some people can have a mini store in their house where they are selling things. Like when we're growing up, my brother used to have a mini store inside the house where he was selling sweets, biscuits, water, and all of those things to the people in the house. So basically, a house, it's a building, and inside that building, there are so many rooms, right? But before you can enter into that building, there has to be a main door, right? So there's a house. That house has so many rooms, but there is a main door. I'm going to explain this further, right? But I'm trying to establish this foundation so that you can understand what I am going to be talking about, because this is very important. And we have a case study. Now, I'm trusting God that this case study will further put this into perspective and will help us to gain clarity on what it takes to be a multi-potentialite. I'm excited about this case study because she's my favorite person in the whole world, and that is TDK. I'm so excited. So this is our case study, right? Now, one of the questions that marvels me the most is DDK. Because one of the questions I ask myself is, how can somebody be all of these things and excels at it? If we're talking about excellent mastery of multi-potentiality, this should be the brand ambassador of what we're talking about. This is like the signboard of what it means to be a multi-potentialite and to gain excellent mastery of it. Now, DDK is many things. In fact, all these things that I put here is little compared to what she is as a person, right? Because of space, there are so many things that I could not impute. So we know DDK, she's a coach, she's a minister of God's word. She's also a business person. It was very recently that I came to realize that DDK owns a laundry business. This woman is a conglomerate as a person. She owns a laundry business. She recently launched a fashion line and a perfume line. That's amongst the other things that she does. But what do you know DDK as? Some of you know her as a coach. Some of you know her as a minister. As a minister, she's a pastor of the Baptizing Church. As a minister, she runs a ministry, Kingdom Leaders Global Alliance. As a minister, she has a discipleship program, ILDP, which I am a proud graduate of. As a minister, she has Firebrand Forerunners. She has books, I think over 20 books to her name. What else does she have? She has so many things, right? As a coach, she's the founder of Immerse Coaching Company. She's the founder of Ideation Hub. She's the founder of Future Forward Mastermind, Future Forward Female, Visionary Leaders Compass, and a host of many other things that she does. And one definition that people give when they want to describe DDK is that DDK is an institution, which goes back to the definition that I made, right? A house with many rooms. And this is what a multi-potentialite is. You are a building, but inside that building are many rooms. And when you begin to change the narrative and change the definition of this, you will come to realize that you don't have a problem being the kind of person that you are. And you don't have to feel terrible for the way God has created you to be. This is one of the biggest blessings, to be a person who can manifest in diverse ways. So there are different ways that you. Now let me unearth a little bit now. DDK is an individual, right? As an individual, the first thing is that she's a child of God. She's the daughter of God. You know, before all of these things, she's first a child of God, a woman that God has created for his purpose. And so because of that, she has many expressions. So you can meet DDK as a coach, maybe through Immerse Coaching Company. You join Immerse Inner Circle, you get to meet the person that DDK is, and you're amazed, like, oh my God, DDK is amazing. Another person might not even know about Immerse Coaching Company, and the one way that they meet DDK is through the baptizing church where she pastors. Mind you, she's not the founder of the church, she's only a pastor of that church, right? This is another channel where I influence. I like to call it multi-influential, right? Being a multi-potential person is being a multi-influential person because you have many points of influence. Using DDK as our case study, she either influences you through Immense Coaching Company, or she influences you through the baptizing church where she pastors, or through Ideation or Kingdom Leaders Global Alliance, or Future Forward Female, or ILDP, or Visionary Leaders Compass, Firebrand Forerunners, or even the books that she has written. Or you might not even get to even come in contact with all of these things, and it's a perfume line, or a laundry business, or a fashion business that you get to interact with. But the core of everything is that DDK as a person is something, right? And it is because of the person that DDK is that all of these multiple expression have come into play, right? So whatever ways you meet her, there is something that makes that she's about, that gives all of these things expression. Now, one of the questions that a lot of people will ask, that I have even asked myself, is how can somebody have all of these things and still be excellent at it? Let me use ILDP for an example. I was a part of ILDP, right? And I will tell you for a fact that the excellence in execution of this thing was mind-blowing. And I'm like, oh my God, like this one literally just activated sense inside of me. Yes, you are a multi-potential person, you're a multi-influential person, you have many capacities as a person, but you can be all of these things and you can still have mastery of everything, such that people don't see you as, what did this person just they do? Today you are doing this one, tomorrow you are doing that one. Have you ever had, remarks from people like that, where they're like, you today you're a fashion designer, tomorrow you're a musician, next tomorrow you're an actress, tomorrow you're doing this, you're doing that. But she has been able to gain mastery of all of these things. So even recently I realized that she also knows how to draw. So she has the drawing talent and so many things. But there is one secret that I discovered that has helped DDK to be all of these things and not look like somebody that doesn't know what she's doing. And that, takes me to the next slide. One thing is constant. Every other thing is a variable. The constant is that she's God's daughter who is committed to releasing her God-given virtues to the world. I forgot to add that she's a wife and she's a mother as well, because that's also part of being a multi-potentialite, right? So what's the constant here? DDK is the constant. So whether there's Ideation or KLC or the baptizing church or ILDP or Immerse, whether there is that or not, one thing is constant, and that's the fact that she is who she is. She has come to identify who she is, and she's God's daughter who is committed to releasing her God-given virtues to the world. Now, once this foundation is strengthened, every other thing starts to fall into place gradually, right? So, but that's not all that there is to it. One thing makes all of these things possible. So I want to give room for interaction based on everything that I said, based on the case study that I gave, based on the little understanding that you have of DDK. We've interacted with her before. What do you think has helped her to be exceptional and to gain mastery as a multi-potentialite? So let me open the floor now. Is there anybody that wants to share? Can you still hear me?
We can hear you. I'm wondering why they are silent. People are forgetting who is in front of
So
you.
you
We
people
can
should
hear
unmute
you.
your mics because I cannot see your messages. So I want somebody to unmute and tell me, with everything that you've heard, what do you think it is that has helped her to gain mastery in all of these multiple aspects of her life?
I would say discipline.
Okay, thank you. Who else wants to say something?
Focus.
What?
I'll say self-discovery.
Self-discovery, amazing. Thank you. Another person. I need two more.
I believe that she puts God at the center of all of these things that she's doing. There's a God factor there.
Amazing. The God factor. I love it. One more and then we continue.
In the comment section, somebody said diligence.
Diligence. Thank you very much. Everything that you said is very correct. But this is one thing that I discovered from my study of DDK, and that is systemization and structures. If there's one thing that God has been highlighting to me in this season of my life, is this being able to create systems and put structures in place, right? So the reason why a lot of multi-potential people or multi-dimensional people are constantly overwhelmed is because there is no system and structure in place to help them to articulate and manage the many expressions that they have. And that's why so many people are struggling. And I can totally relate to this because I've also been a victim of that, right? Where you can have so many things that you're doing, and it looks as if you are not consistent, or you are not, or you're confused, or you don't even know, you don't even have a hang of yourself. The solution to this is getting to a point where you can now begin to sit yourself down and draw out every aspect of your life. This is me. This is what I do. These are the things that I do. How can I begin to create a system and a structure that articulates everything that I do in such a way that I don't look like I'm all over the place? Now, like I said, I was part of ILDP, right? ILDP was a 12 weeks training for discipleship and all of that, right? And all through the 12 weeks of being a part of ILDP, DDK only showed up once to address us. So meaning that even though she's the founder, she was one that was teaching us. So we're learning from her back to back every week. But she never showed up but once during this training. So we can come out and say, I went through ILDP by DDK. I was trained by DDK. But DDK was not the one that was addressing us. She was not the one that was facilitating certain things. She was not the one that was handling certain all these things. She has learned how to create systems, how to create structures, how to put things in place, how to delegate. This is where delegation comes in. This is where discipline, like you said, comes in. This is where self-discovery comes in. This is where the God factor, diligence, all of these things comes in. Because if you don't learn to put structures and systems in place, you will just feel like you don't have a hang of the things that you are doing, right? So we had people that were, communicating with us. We have people that send us mails. We have people that reach out to us. We have people that were our coaches, our guide. If we have questions, they're the people that we reach out to, and all of those things. It was only once that we saw DDK come to address us, and that was because the people that she has put in charge of ILDP invited her to come over and say, okay, these are the disciples for this, season, for this cohort rather, and we'd like you to come and address us, right? But throughout the 12 weeks, it was managed by people. And so if you want to gain excellent mastery of your multi-potential qualities as a person, you need to learn how to put systems and structures in place. And while you might not have the while you might not have the luxury of opportunities that DDK has at this phase of your life, you can make do with what you have. So for DDK, hers is different because most of these people are paid staff, right? She can easily pay them and say, okay, maybe they're on a payroll, they're on a salary, and all of those things. But for you, that you're a young person who is starting out and you are still trying to figure your life out, your business is still growing. How can you, do all of these things? Now, let me read this first. ZK is able to do all these things because she has a solid system and structure in place. Now, that's what it means to have an excellent mastery of multi-potentiality. Here's another thing to note. As a multi-potentialite, you need to learn how to identify what your core is, starting with it, building it, then leverage on it to build others. Now, this brings me to the answer to the question I asked initially, that if you might be in a position where you don't have the capacity or the opportunities and access to the opportunities that DDK has, but you still want to gain mastery, excellent mastery of your multi-potential nature. This is another thing that you need to note. You need to learn to identify what your core is. You need to learn how to start with it, build with it, then leverage on it to build others. I think one of the problems that a lot of us have is that because we have these multiple interests, we want to pursue every single thing. And that's where we get to a point where we start to feel overwhelmed, strained, and all of those things. One of the things that God has taught me and God is teaching me is that there are certain things that God puts in your heart. There are certain interests or visions or things that God puts in your heart or things that you can possibly do that you might not necessarily need to do now. You need to first understand and identify what is my core, right? What is my core? And I think this is a question that requires some level of reflection from you on this call right now. What is my core? Write it down and ask yourself, what is my core? Yes, I know I'm a multi-potentialite. I know I can do so many things. I can sing, I can talk, I can write, I can speak. I am in drama department in my church. I am in all of these things. I have certification in this, I have certification in that. I studied this in school. I have all of these things. But what is your core? What is your core? Have you identified what your core is? Without being able to find the answer to this question, you will continue to be all over the place and not gain mastery of your identity or your abilities as a multi-influential or multi-potential person. You need to know what your core is. At the core of you, what is that core thing that you know that from this thing, I can build other things? So can anybody, I don't know if somebody can take the bold step to just explain to me or give us a brief insight into what you think your core is. Tell us what you do, right? The many things that you do. You have multi-potentialite on this call. You can unmute your mic. Tell us what you do, the many things that you do, the many abilities that you have, and what you think your core is, or why you think your core
Can we all hear her? Did we hear her?
No.
is what you think your core is. I don't know if you understand that question, but I want this class to be so. Yeah,
Can you guys hear me? I think our connection is a bit unstable, but can you hear? All right, I would reiterate what she said. She talked about finding your core.
Wait.
Is my line also breaking, or can you hear me? You can hear, okay. I'm sure she'll be back soon. She said that if there is somebody here who is bold enough to tell us, the diverse things you're doing, and then tell us which of all of this is your core. Have you found your core? Have you identified it? So if there is anybody here, that's what she said before the connection went off. Anybody here wants to respond quickly? I expect everybody to raise their hands, especially those that attended Reset last year, because we talked about finding your core. Okay, Esther.
Okay, so I'll mention just like three things I love. I love teaching, I love coding, and I love crocheting. So my core in these three is teaching. Like I love instructing people in coding and robotics. Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys still hear me now? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that. So you love teaching, you love coding, and you love crocheting. But you've been able to identify that what teaching is your core. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
So using our case study now, DDK, for example, right? She is a minister, a coach, she has businesses, she's a strategist, she's a consultant, she's a wife, she's a pastor, and all of those things. But we can say that the core of DDK is equipping people with knowledge and insights, whether it's through ministry or coaching, right? So your core isn't necessarily what you do, it is who you are at the core of yourself. I don't know how best to explain it, but who you are, oh God, help me to interpret this in the best way possible. But with our case study, I believe it is clear. DDK core, based on what I've been able to observe, if you ask her to explain what her core is, I'm sure she'll be able to give you a different answer. But basically, every time you hear her talk, she always say that one of the things that she knows that she's called to do is to equip people with knowledge and insights, to bring men into light, basically. And so, because she understands the core of her assignment or the core of who God has made her to be, it's easy for her to be able to, go into diverse aspects of her calling. Now, let's not forget that the DDK that we know today as the founder of all of these multiple streams did not start it as a multiple stream. Because it's a problem that a lot of young people have, that you have passion for everything, you sense a calling to everything, doesn't mean that you have to do everything. When DDK started, it was, what did she call the name of that thing? Is it God's Great Girls? Because she did a documentary, right? One thing I always do is when I admire somebody, I don't just admire them for the result that they have now. I like to dig into their past. Like, yes, we see DDK today, we are celebrating DDK, who is doing amazing things. But who was Adebola before she became DDK? Sometimes it's important to go and dig into the history of these people to find them out and see, okay, this person that I admire so much that I'm trying to be like or patterning my life after, how did she start? Where did she start from? So from the documentary that I watched about her, when she started, she was just this girl who had a burning passion and desire for God, wanting to know God, wanting to serve God, wanting to do the will of the Lord, and just be a blessing in our world. And from there, she started to respond to the calling. Before that, she started to respond to the calling. She joined a fellowship on campus. She became an executive. And then from there, she started to raise disciples. So this thing that she's doing about raising disciples now that we know as ILDP and all of this forum started with a 20 years old young girl on campus, right? Started to raise disciples, and then she said that she had a goal to raise 9 people, who would raise 10 people, and the 10 people would raise, I think, 11 people and all of those things. So she had this thing called God's Great Girls. So DDK that we know started with God's great girls that she was using to basically equip and enable people with the knowledge and insights that God has given to her. And I'm sure that God's great girls was what has metamorphosed into these beautiful dimensions of ministry and impact streams that we see today, right? So the reason why she's able to understand this thing is that she knows what her core is. And when you are able to find the answer to this question, if you can go back to the replay of the last year's reset, please go back to it so that you can sit with it and ask yourself this question. Because without finding the answer to this question, you will just keep being everywhere, doing everything and not understanding why it's as if everything is just one kind. Another example that I would like to give is Apostle Joshua Selman. I was listening to a message by Apostle Selman. We all know that Apostle Selman can sing, right? And every time he's ministering, I always look forward to him just raising a song because I just love his voice so much. Like, this man sings so well. But understanding his core is what made Apostle Selman know that my calling is not to be a music minister. My calling is not to be going from one place to the other doing music ministration. Imagine if he did not come to understand or identify the core of what God has called him to be. And he just felt, I can't sing. He said he was once a music director, right, for so many years. And he can sing, he has knowledge of how to play the keyboard and all of those things. Imagine if he did not have the understanding of what his core is. And there's a way that there's a deceitfulness that can make you, because you are so good at something. And there's some people like that, they are so good at anything that they do. Anything that they do, they are exceptional at it. And there's a deceitfulness that can make you think that because you are exceptional at everything, you have to do everything, or you have to major on everything. The understanding of knowing what to major and knowing what to minor will help you a great deal in being able to master yourself as a multi-potentialite. So Apostle Simon is a great singer, but we don't see him going everywhere, ministering in songs, doing music ministration and all of those things. We don't see him do that because that's not the core of who he is. Are there times when during his preaching, he raises songs that sets the atmosphere on fire? Yes, but he understands that this is not the core of what God has called me to be. There are some things that are your core, and there are some things that are supporting resources to help you to gain a better leverage on your core. So much that even though everybody is a preacher, something stands Apostle Selman out is the fact that he can also sing. So as he's giving you hot with the word of God, he will just chip in one song that will just set your soul on fire and you start praying in tongues. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has that ability. But that's the thing that sets him apart. So there are some things that are meant to be supporting what God has majorly called you to be. And I really pray that God gives us understanding of what I am saying. That you don't go about majoring the minor and minoring the major. Because that's what I see a lot of people do. You can code, you can do crochet, you can do this, you can do that. And then you are trying to do everything, or you are even doing the one that is not even the core of what God has called you to be. And you'll be doing well, and that's the deceitfulness of life. That you read because the grace to be exceptional at everything you do is so heavy upon you. You can be so good at everything, and you will be derailed. You will not know that you are being derailed because you don't understand that even though I can do this thing, that is not the core of who God has made me to be or what God has called me to be. So if Apostle Selman came out as a Sumisola or a Yinka Okele, are we going to be blessed or not? Are you going to be blessed by his songs or his voice? You will be blessed. But is that the core of what God has called him to be? No. So you need to understand. And I really pray that when you take out time to spend time with yourself, you begin to identify these things. So it brings me to the next thing. How do you identify your core? And this is where evaluation comes in, right? This is where evaluation comes in. If you really want to master yourself as an individual, this is not even about whether you're a multi-potentialite or not. If you want to gain mastery of yourself as a person, you need to embrace evaluation. You need to embrace evaluation. Do you know that a lot of people don't know themselves? And when I say know themselves, I'm not saying what is your name. You like rice, you like beans. I'm saying, do you know yourself at the core of who you are, at the core of who God has made you to be? Do you know who, do you have a, not just a sense of your identity, do you have an understanding of your identity? Yes, we know that you are the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus, and God has created you to be this, He has created you to be that. But do you know the core of who God has made you to be? I got to a point in my life, I like bios, right? And I have a bio, but I got to a point in my life where I came to understand something. That who Michelle is not what is written in her bio. The core of who Michelle is the understanding of who God has made her to be, that she knows, that she's fully aware of. And this understanding helps me to know that I am not a confused person that I'm by doing everything that I'm doing. I do Creators Haven. I have Alina Creations. I am, in fact, recently now, I decided I'm doing a worship meeting. And I'm sure people will be wondering that this girl again. Where did you start singing? Where did you start your music from that you want to do worship meeting? But I'm saying that these are the different aspects of my life. But I understand the core of who Michelle is. That the core of who she is a fountain that will continue to dispense life. So whether I'm dispensing life through Alina Creations, or I am dispensing life through Creators Haven, or through Bible Body, or through Unfiltered Expressions to Abba, all of these things are just channels of my expression. The core of who I am is that this girl will continue to dispense life. The channels may differ, but one thing is constant. So you need to understand the core of who you are. And it requires a simple evaluation. You need to ask yourself important questions. What is your premium gift? What is my premium gift? What is that thing that, yes, I know I can do so many things, but what is that thing that is so specific to me that even though every other person can do it, it's still so peculiar to me in such a way that it's as if na follow come. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. What is your premium gift? And what is that thing that God has made so much emphasis on through every season of your life? So you need to sit, and that's why your journal, I don't know if you guys are here with your journal, and if you guys are writing the things that I'm saying, but please, these things are very important. Identify your core by a simple evaluation, by asking yourself simple questions. What is my premium gift? First of all, start by listing out all the gifts that you have, the abilities that you have. There are some things that you have by nature, some you have by nurture, some you have by learning, right? There are some things you can do because you learned how to do it. For example, I can draw. The reason I can draw is because my daddy can draw. Growing up, I used to watch my dad draw. And because I saw him draw, it fascinated me. I learned how to draw. In fact, I used to draw so much in primary school and secondary school that I thought that I was going to end up as an artist. I'm not joking. I really thought that I was going to be an artist in future because of how much I loved drawing. I loved painting. I don't think I can do it as much as I used to back then, but I used to draw. I used to make illustrations. And that's because I saw my daddy do it. It fascinated me so much. I liked it. And I'm like, daddy, come and teach me this thing. So I'll watch him do it. I'll follow after what he's doing. And then continuous practice made me to become so good at it. So much that I almost went to school to study creative arts. When I got admission to Taswed, it was not English I wanted to study. English is what I studied because my mommy said that, how will you go to school and be studying fine arts? So that's the reason I studied English, because to her, English still made more sense than fine arts. Otherwise, I would have studied fine arts. And that's because back then I loved it so much that I thought that that was what I was going to be in life. But through personal discovery, I realized that, yes, I can draw, but that's not the core of what God has made me to be. The drawing is an expression of a creativity, a creative ability. So the reason why I can draw is because I have a creative ability, that creativity that flows through me. And it's that creativity that has helped me to develop other aspects of my life, the businesses that I run, the initiatives that I do. At the core of everything, you will see there's just something that is unique, that even if any other person is trying to imitate it, there's still something that is peculiar to Michelle, right? So you need to be able to understand what is your premium gift, and what is that thing that God has made so much emphasis on through every season. And you need to understand it. You need to be able to define it. So like the person has said, teaching. Yes, teaching is a means of expression. What is the foundation of that teaching? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes, you love to teach, but what is powering that love for teaching, or that desire for teaching? You need to identify that thing. Because yes, teaching is only a means to an end. You can express that thing through other means. I don't know if what I'm saying is clear. So I teach, right? What I'm doing here is teaching, right? And I can also decide that I'm creating a product, which is a t-shirt or a journal or Bible body. Through Bible body, directly or indirectly, I am teaching children how to study or read God's word. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So at the core of everything is that I am creating things that will, okay, how do I explain? At the core of everything is that I am creating something that equips people to come into the fullness of all that God has made them to be. So if I create Bible body is a creative, expression of scriptures for children, where they can learn about the Bible, they can memorize scriptures, they have a lot of artistic, creative stuff on it. So through Bible body, there are children that doesn't mean that I'm called to children's ministry. I don't need to be called to children's ministry to do or to express what I'm doing. Do you understand? But because I've come to understand the core of who I am, that I'm going to dispense life to people through creative means, through my creative abilities. So it finds expression in diverse ways. If I'm doing Creators Haven, it's finding expression that way. If I'm doing Alina Creations, it's finding expression that way. If I'm doing Bible Body, it's finding expression that way. If it's unfiltered expressions to Abba, it's still finding expression that way. So you just need to evaluate yourself and ask yourself this question. Make a list of all the things that you know how to do, all the gifts that God has given to you, the things that you learned, and the things that is follow come. Make a list of all of those things, and then begin to ask yourself, and prayerfully actually ask God to help you to identify your premium gifts and the things that He has placed emphasis on through every season of your life. I'm telling you that if you do this thing, your life is going to be better. You must know the area of emphasis per season, so you don't major on the minor and minor on the major. I said that initially, right? So there are some seasons in your life where God will be emphasizing on certain things. When you have not, because every day we're evolving as people. Do you understand? Every day we're evolving. Every day we're coming to discover ourselves. So you see this thing about you, how do I explain it? The person called you. You don't know all that there is to it. You don't know all that there is to you. Nobody can help you to unearth it except the person who created you himself. And that's why your relationship with God is so important. If you want to gain mastery of yourself, if you want to gain mastery of your gifts, your abilities, excellent mastery of these things, you need to come to understand the person that even puts those things inside of you in the first place, right? Because if you buy a product now, if you buy an item, there is something called a manual that helps you to know how to utilize it effectively. So you need to know the areas of emphasis per season, so you don't major on the minor and minor on the major. For example, like I said, because I am a multi-talented person, like I said, I could draw. I can still draw anyways, but it's not just something I'm focusing on in this season of my life, because that was just something that I could do at that time, right? So I could draw, I can sing. All my life until this point, I think it was only when I got married that I left the choir. But all my life since when I was 14 years old to when I got married, I've always been in the choir, right? Singing and everything. That was an emphasis in that season. So I got into service to God through my singing gifts and my singing ability. It doesn't mean that I've been called to music ministry. But that at some point in my life was an emphasis on God for those seasons. And you realize that through every season of your life, you will see that everything that God has put inside of you will find expression in different ways. There are certain seasons of your life where you might not necessarily be required to display a gift or to do certain things again. Like I said I've been in the choir from when I was 14 till up until when I was getting married. When I got married and I changed churches, I didn't sense the need to be
Just a moment, everyone. I think she's having some connection
in the choir.
issues, difficulty with her connection. It's going to get better in a bit.
Yeah.
Did you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear
I
you.
can't hear you
Yes,
anymore.
ma'am.
So for the last 3 years, I've not been in the choir. Can you guys hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you now, but we didn't hear the few things you said. Like, sorry,
Oh my God. What was the last thing you heard?
You started when you
Talking
got
about
married,
changing church.
you had to change church. So you didn't see yourself joining the choir department.
All right, thank you. Thank you very, very much. So like I said, when I got married and had to switch church, I didn't see myself being in the choir, to be honest. And so I was in other units and doing my thing. I could still be in my house, worshiping God, talking to God and just expressing myself to Him and all of those things, right? So I'll host a meeting like Creators Haven and would have worship sessions. That's me deploying the gift that God has given to me. So we're worshiping, we're having a nice time, just expressing ourselves to God. And now I'm in a season where God is now trying to highlight that part of me that I felt was probably not necessary. Not like I felt wasn't necessary, but I felt, okay, yes, I know I can sing, but I don't know if this is something that I need to do now in this season of my life. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to know the area of emphasis per season so that you know what to major in and what to minor in. I'm saying this because when you have multiple gifts, multiple abilities, even calling in that sense, God has given you different visions, different ideas. For example, maybe God has given you a vision for children, and God has given you, it's the same you that has a burden for sex workers. It's the same you that has a burden for education. It's the same you that has a passion to help businesses, become better. So this is you, but you have these multiple passions, multiple visions that you are receiving at different times in your life. You need to, this is one way you can gain mastery. I'm telling you, you need to know what is God emphasizing on. It's not, do you know that it's not everything that God puts in your heart that you need to do now? And this is something that I have learned and that has helped me. There's something I have that is called an idea bank. So in that idea bank, every time an idea comes to my head or a vision comes to my heart, I write it there. And that's why whenever I want to launch something, you hear me say, I first conceived this vision in so and so year. That's because there are times when I will receive an idea or a vision from God, and I write it down, and I know that it's not yet time for me to do this thing. For example, I'm doing a worship meeting in January next year. And when the first time I conceived the vision for this meeting was in 2022. That was 2 years ago. When I conceived the vision and I wrote it down in my journal, the first question I asked was, God, is it something you need me to work on now? Or like, what is the instruction for this? Like, what would you have me do as regards this? But God did not say anything. I didn't hear anything from God. And one thing I've come to learn is that I'm not under the pressure of performance that, oh, you are doing this, you are doing that. In fact, sometimes all if anything things I'm doing is because necessity is laid on me.
Just a moment, everyone. Connection will get better soon, I'm sure. Let's just take a moment. You can just take some water while she sorts out the internet connection. Also, if you have questions, okay, she's gonna be back in a few. If you have questions, there is a Q&A sort of a portal. Can you guys see it? I dropped a message on there. It says AO, you can ask your questions here. Did you guys see it?
Yes, I saw it.
Okay, so you can start putting your questions there. And please do not post anonymously, except it's a question that is very private, then you can post anonymously. I'm saying don't post anonymously for general questions so that the answers can be honed to you. Okay, she's back now. So yeah. You're muted at the moment, Michelle. Okay.
I'm really sorry. My network, I don't know what's wrong with my network. It's really bad. But can you hear me now?
Yes, the last thing I heard is do not stay under the pressure of performance.
Okay, thank you very much. So, like I said, you don't be under the pressure of performance, and understand. While there's a quote that DDK told us during ILDP. Let me see if I can find that quote. Very powerful, very, very profound. God help me to find it. But let me just transfer.
Your slides anymore.
What did you say?
I can't see the slides anymore.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How about now?
It's probably going to come on in a few, but for now,
Not yet.
yes.
We can't see it yet.
It's loading up now.
I'm so sorry. My network is bad, but we'll just still go on.
Yeah.
Anyways, so like I was saying, there was a quote that we learned from DDK, right? During ILDP. She said that I can't remember who. My journal is not here. That's the journalist for ILDP is not here. I'll have read it out, but I'll just try to paraphrase what the person said. Said, though I am in a haste, I am not in a hurry to do everything that God has called me to do. Though there is an urgency to fulfill God's assignments, I am not in a hurry. And having this understanding will help a lot of us. Knowing that, yes, God has put this body, and you know how it is when God puts a body in your heart. Can you see me? Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So you know how God puts a burden in your heart and it's like fire in your bones. Like, I have to do this thing God has called me to do. Like, I had this vision and it was just so strong in my heart. You know how we say all these things? Like, it was so strong in my heart and I just need to do this. You need to understand that it's not everything that you need to do. And this might be offensive to some people, but having this wisdom will help you. That is not everything you need to do. There are some visions that God gives you. It's not you that is going to execute it. I hope you know that you can stand as a consultant to people. And that's why you should have your idea bank. There are times that I have conversations with people, and one thing that they always say is, Michelle, I got clarity from what you have shared. I got clarity from what you have shared. And I just realized that so many things that God has put in my heart might not necessarily be for me to do it. For example, I've seen myself, I used to have, I don't know, it doesn't happen as much now. But I used to have
Better
dreams
do like
where,
quality change. Okay.
okay, I used to have dreams, when I was way younger though, where I would see movie scripts play out in my dream, storylines play out in my dream, literally. In fact, those times I used to think that I'll be a filmmaker. You see, many things that I can do in this life. Sometimes I just used to look at myself like, God, why me? But I've come to realize that it's not everything that, and that this is where identifying your core really comes into play. Knowing that it's not everything that God or that comes to your heart that you really need to pursue. That's one. Number two is that, yes, you might need to pursue them, but you might not need to pursue it now. Right? So there are seasons that will call for it. So, like we use DDK as a case study. DDK is doing everything that she's doing now, but when she started, she wasn't doing all of these things. It is as she grew that it began to develop. I wrote something in my notes. Let me check it. Even if you are called to many things, you may not be required to do everything in every season. Even if you are called to many things, you may not be required to do everything in every season. And if you have to do everything that you are called to do, you need to learn how to put people in charge of the things that you do. Like I use ILDP as an example. What we're watching were pre-recorded videos of DDK, teaching us all of these principles. It was only once that we got to interact with her on a live call. So yes, she's the vision and the brain behind it, but it is being managed and executed by solid people that she has put in charge. But like I said, everybody may not have the luxury to employ people and put them in charge. So what do you need to do? Learn how to prioritize. That's the word. Learn how to prioritize. Draw a scale of preference or a scale of importance in your life. So yes, God, I know that you have called me into this area. You've called me to do this. You've called me to do that. And also know when to, for example, I do Alina Creations. That's my business. And I do Bible Body. And I do Creators Haven and other things too that comes up here and there. But my priority is my business, which is Alina Creations. So you see me show up consistently for that. I do LRM as well, which is also a monthly teaching meeting, right? Creators Haven is quarterly. LRM is monthly. So I know that even though it looks like I'm doing so many things, but each thing have their place. I don't know if you get. So there are some seasons that you will not hear me talk about Creators. When last did you hear me talk about Creators Haven? But when the time is drawing near from those are the people that are following me now. When last did you hear me say anything about Creators Haven? We had the last edition in March, and since March, I have not said anything about it. Yes, we're supposed to do one in July, but life happened and we couldn't do it. And when I came back from my hiatus or my break, and I wanted to pursue, I wanted to do it, I wanted to do it in, was it September or August? I just felt a restraint to do it. I was telling my husband, I don't know why I want to, because we had already created a flyer for Creators Haven. We're supposed to do we did the first edition of Creators Haven in March. For those that don't know what Creators Haven is, I'm sorry. It's a platform that I have for entrepreneurs. So it's a physical hangout where we come together, we refresh ourselves, we learn. It's just a fun and networking hangout. We also pray together. It's like a retreat, actually, basically. That's what it is. So I do that quarterly, right? I started that in, I think, 2023 or thereabouts. So we did the first edition. We did the first edition for the year in March. We're supposed to have the second edition for the year in July. But in June, my mom passed, so I could not even do anything. But before my mom passed, I had already created flyer for Creators Haven. We had already started publicity and everything. So when my mom passed, the last thing that was on my mind was to do Creators Haven and all of those things. So I just put it on hold with the intention that by the time I'm coming back from the break, I don't know how long my break is going to be, but by the time I'm coming back from my break, I'm going to do Creators Haven maybe in August in September.
Just a moment, everyone. The connection will get better in a bit. Do not forget that you can start asking your questions, type them out in the question portal, and we get them answered. Everyone can see the question portal, right? Just to confirm.
When I came back from my
Can you?
Yes.
Okay. She's back now, I believe. Okay, we can hear you
I'm
now.
so sorry.
It's okay.
Airtel has been showing me a lot this period. I need to change my network. I'm really sorry, but I'm actually wrapping. I'm almost done. Anyways, this 16 out of 19. Anyway, so I don't know where you heard last.
You were talking about getting back from your hiatus for Creators Haven, and you didn't feel there was a restraint on your part to doing it.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a restraint on my part to do Creators Haven. So the plan was to do it in September when I resumed, but I just felt a restraint to do it, and so I had to go back to God. Like, okay, God, why am I? This is something I've always been doing. So why am I feeling this way? And it was when I prayed that God now started to highlight unfiltered expressions to me, and so I just knew that okay, for this phase, this is what God is emphasizing on. I could have as well gone ahead to do Creators Haven and everybody would be so amazed, like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I enjoyed myself and all of those things. But at the core, that's not what God really wants me to focus on at that point in my life. So you need to understand this, that you might be doing so many things and it's a consistent thing that people know you for, or it's something that you are very conversant with. But you need to know the area of emphasis on your life per season. So yeah, even though now I'm not saying anything about Creators Haven, I've not talked about it since the last time I did it, right? And since when I was planning for the next edition, I've not said anything. In fact, somebody asked me, "Are you going to do another one? Can you do another one in December?" I said no, because this is not the emphasis that God has for me in this season right now. There's something else that is coming up in January. Do you understand? So I'm not talking about it now. What you are hearing me talk about now is unfiltered expressions to Abba, because that is the emphasis of God for my life right now in this season. Once that one is over, you may not hear me talk about it again for the next few years even, except God now begins to highlight it to my heart again. This is another way you can begin to manage the multiple sides that you have. That yes, you are doing many things, but you need to understand that even though I'm doing many things, I am not called to do it in every season. I'm not called to do it in every phase. There are seasons where God is laying emphasis, or a necessity is laying emphasis on me to do this thing at this time. And there are seasons where you might not necessarily need to pursue it. So when you know how to do this, it just helps you to manage yourself in such a way that it looks as though, wow, this person has a hang of what all that she's doing. But basically, it's just wisdom and strategy, knowing what to focus on part time, knowing what to major on part time, and what to minor on. So not every idea that comes to you has to be executed by you. And some may be a seed for the future. There's a vision I received 5 years ago that there's not even clarity or direction to do it. And until the direction comes, I'm not going to do it, because I believe that it's a seed for the future. There's some things that God puts in your heart to do, but you may not have the capacity to do it now. And this is why a lot of people start something and fail at it. And you wonder, but God told me, God showed me, God gave me this vision. He put it in my heart. I know I am called to do this thing. Yes, you are called to do it, and God actually told you. You did not mishear God. But did you really wait to know if this is a seed for the now or a seed for the future? This will help you a lot, knowing that yes, these are multiple expressions that I have, but some expressions might not need to find expression now. And that's why that quote I mentioned earlier that DDK gave us is that though I may be in a haste, I am not in a hurry. Though there is a passion in my heart to become all that God has called me to be, to do all that God has asked me to do, I am not in a haste. I am not in a hurry. I understand what to do part-time, and this is wisdom, knowing what to do part-time, knowing where to be part-time, knowing that this is what you ought to be doing. And there's sometimes that you need to focus on building something, right? When you focus on something and you become known for that thing, you cannot branch out into other things. Let me use an example. Victoria James, Vicky James, yeah? We all know Vicky James as what? A fashion designer, right? Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we all know Vicky James as a fashion designer. I didn't start to really know Vicky James until I think maybe last year or 2 years ago, right? But we know Vicky James as the founder of Vicky James brand. She's a fashion designer. Not until recently, where she started doing what's this thing that she does? Zion worships. She does worship. She does a worship program, calls people together. They worship God together. They are blessed. She's doing Vicky James Foundation, where she goes to the slum to feed people, preach the word of God to them. Now she's a content creator. Even though people are abusing her, that one is their problem. The cocoa is that she's getting the bag. She's a content creator. She's so many things. Now she recently launched a business, what they call it, Fair Tale or something, a gift hamper business. That's what she's doing. She's doing currently. But what did you know Vicky James as? A fashion designer. Vicky James grew herself to become a formidable fashion designer with influence. Now she has leveraged the influence that she has with her fashion brand to begin to delve into the other things that God has called her to do or that she has interest in. So you need to understand times and seasons. As a young person, as a multi-potentialite, if you want to gain mastery of yourself as a multiple potential person, you need to understand times and seasons. You need to understand the emphasis of God for that season, and you need to understand your call. You need to know that it's not everything that has to be executed right now. There are some things that God shows me or comes to my heart that I may not need to do right now, and I keep it for the later. I may just keep it in an archive and write it somewhere, and that's why you need to document. Have a journal, have an idea bank. You can use your phone, Notion app, or keep notes or notes app on iPhone, whatever it is. Just scribble these things, these ideas that God puts in your heart part time. Just be writing it down, because one day a need will come for it. A need will definitely come for it. So you just need to know that the fact that you are not doing everything now doesn't mean that you're not going to do it. God is not running away. Everything is going to happen. All the books that you want to write, you will write. All the businesses that you want to launch, you will launch. All the ideas that you want to execute, you will execute. Just learn how to leverage, learn times and season, learn what to do, build on something. So there are people, and this is where the power of focus also comes in. I think this will be the last thing that I'll say. Understanding the power of focus, right? Knowing how to focus on something. So there are people that they can do so many things, but they have learned to gain mastery on one thing. They've gained so much mastery on that one thing that you think that all that there is to them is that one thing. Until they now realize that, okay, I think I'm well settled in this area. Now let me begin to branch out into other aspects of my life. And that's where you see that, oh, this person, we all know this person as an actress. Why are they now doing this one? For example, Banky W. We all knew Banky W as a musician, singing strong thing, I love you, all those kind of stuff. Then now we're seeing, and this is also where transition comes in, that there will be seasons in your life where you will pivot and where you will transition. That yes, you might be doing something now, you know that I can also do other things, but this is the area of emphasis for my life in this season. So Banky W, for example, is a musician, right? But now he's beyond that. We see him as a minister in church. That people were even asking, is he not a pastor? We see him ministering in church. He went into politics. He has a business, Soya Bistro. I don't know if we know about it, but Banky W has Soya Bistro. He's also the founder of this management company. What they call it, EME. Is he EME? Yeah, something EME, right? He's also the founder of that. He's a father. He's a husband, and all of this. I think he's currently doing a master's or a postgraduate study in maybe US or UK. I don't know. But can you see how all of these things are coming into play? So I'm just going to say that understand times and season and know that all these things are not running away. You're the one that is in a hurry. You're the one that is in a haste. God is not even rushing you, to be honest. So even if the fire is burning in your bone, you still need to learn how to tame yourself, And that's where discipline comes in. Because when I asked us some questions, some of us said discipline, some of us said the God factor, diligence, self-discovery, right? So even if you're called to many things, you may not be required to do everything in every season. So this is what I'm going to end with. In conclusion, your multiple talents are a gift. Mastering them is your responsibility. So yes, God has gifted you with all these talents and abilities that you have, but you have a responsibility to master them. And sometimes you need to learn the power of focus, and that will help you in gaining mastery per time. Because the truth is that there is only so much that a human can do. If you ever find somebody who is doing so many things at once, the secret behind the ability to master all of these aspects of their life is that they've created systems and structures in place. And if you don't have the plethora of opportunities to be able to do that in this season of your life, learn the power of focus. That will help you a great deal. Knowing that for now, let me just focus on this thing. This thing can wait. When I focus on it, when I build it, when I've grown my capacity, grown my influence to a certain level, I cannot begin to branch out into other aspects of my life. So your multiple gifts is a gift, it's not a curse. It's a blessing, it's not a curse. So if you've ever felt insulted or felt, ashamed for being a multiple or a multi-talented person or a multi-potentialite, I want to tell you today that is a gift and a blessing from God. It is one of the best blessings in this world, really, to be able to have this. I mean, it shows that you're a special person. For God to place all this emphasis on just one person, that means there's so much more to you. And so that should not make you feel bad or make you feel crippled, right? You just need to learn how to master it. You need to learn how to maximize it and become the best version of yourself. So thank you so much for staying with me till this point. I am grateful. Thank you. So
It's too
I don't know
silent.
if
You guys are not clapping and making noise. Wow. See my notes. I even segmented my notes into two because this is serious work. Hey, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I bet you guys are dealing with questions. If you attend workshops and you don't have questions, I maybe you are watching Netflix or you're doing something else. So let the questions start rolling in before we get into the next part of the workshop. Quickly. We could take, how many questions are you able to take, Michelle? Can you guys hear me?
We can
Hello.
hear you. We can hear you.
All right, fantastic. You guys do not have questions. That's new. Okay. If I think Michelle is trying to say something, but our internet is not connecting. If you have a question, raise your hand, please, so that I can take notes and give you the floor. Remember that I still have my extra bonuses for persons who are active in this workshop. Like I said, I'm not giving it to everybody. We're going to have access, a discounted access to journal therapy. And of course, the book Accelerate is going to be discounted for persons who are interested. I will pay a part for you, and then you pay what is left. Just chicken change you're going to pay. I'm still holding on to see if you have questions. I'm going to check the question portal to see if anybody dropped anything there. Okay, nobody. All right. Okay, so I'm going to split this recording into two. I'm going to save Michelle's recording separately, so it's easier for you to watch through. Maybe you want to track some of the things you heard in each sessions, and you don't want to mix it up. So